Hey everyone, it's Daniel Brother Barbaros. In this next video, we'll be setting up SQL Server and SQL Management Studio. So let's get started. First things first, we're going to go to our share. Let's go to SQL Server, and you'll see our ISO file we downloaded. Double click on that. Should load right up and mount. Double click Setup EXE. Here we are. All right, and we're going to click on Installation. Then New SQL Server Standalone Installation, or add features to an existing installation. Specify a free evaluation, or if you have your own key, you can do the same thing. I accept. Next. Use the Microsoft update to check for updates recommended. Give that a few moments. Okay. You can ignore this Windows firewall warning since we opened up all of our firewall ports. Good. Click on Database Engine Service. And down here, what we're going to do is we're going to change these from C to E, okay, where we have our SQL drives. Okay. You can leave that at the default instance. Now here, SQL Server Agent, we're going to click on the drop-down, Browse, and we're going to type service.sql, check names. That should come right up. We'll do the same thing for the SQL Server Database Engine. There we are. And we can copy our password here. Paste that, Control-V to paste, Control-V to paste there. We're going to go to the collation tab at the top. We're going to verify that it's SQL_Latin1 _general _CP1 _CI _AS. Click Next. Right here, if you're following along, we're going to add SQL admins. Check names, and OK. Now remember this, we're using Windows Authentication mode, okay? Later on, when we're installing MCM, you'll notice that it will say that it's in mixed mode, but we know that we set it in Windows Authentication mode, so that will be a false positive. We'll see that later on, okay? Let's go to Data Directories. Under User Database Directory, we're going to go to our E drive database. There we go. User database log. Remember, we created that log folder on the G drive. There we go. Okay. Let's go to the tempdb tab. Now, remember when we ran our SQL Excel spreadsheet, I told you that we're going to take note of all those numbers, and this is where we're going to fill them in. So number of files will be 4. The initial size is 2259. Our auto growth will be 512. We're going to add our ftempdb folder. There we go. And we can remove this E folder here for data directory. Our initial size for the tempdb log will be 4518, and auto growth is 512. All from that spreadsheet. Okay. Now we'll go down here to G logs. There we are. Okay. And you can click Next. You can see instant file initialization is not enabled. That's okay. Large data size, file size will be increased setup time. And that's okay. Click Yes and install. And I'll come back when that's ready to go. Okay, and we're all good. Succeeded on all of those, all green. You can click close here. Let's click on this PC, and we're going to eject the J drive. There we are. And now what we're going to do is we're going to install our SQL Cumulative Update, which is in our SQL Server Updates folder, CU. You'll see the KB 5050771, which we downloaded in our prerequisites video. Go ahead and double click on that and give that a few moments to load, as it's 460 megabytes. So there we go. Okay, I accept the terms. Next, it's going to upgrade our MS SQL server. There we go. Make sure, wait for the files check to be complete. It's just checking any files in use. Files in use check completed. Next, and click Update. And I'll come back when that's ready to go. Okay, and cumulative update 18 is now installed. Everything succeeded. We look good there. Click Close. Now, next, what we're going to do is we're going to install our native client. Now, native client is being deprecated in a future version. And of course, we're going to be installing the ODBC and OLE DB drivers that we downloaded in our prerequisite video. But they did say, do not remove this until further notification. So we are going to install it as a prerequisite. So let's go to our share. We're going to go to SQL Server. We're going to go to Microsoft Configuration Manager in the prereqs folder. Go all the way down to the bottom. SQL and CLI. I accept. Next. Next. Install. And finish. As you can see, Microsoft ODBC driver for SQL Server or later needs to be installed on site servers and system roles before upgrading to 2309. Okay. Do not uninstall SQL Server native client 11 until we call out in further communications. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Microsoft Configuration Manager, ODBC driver 18, and we'll install this. There we go. This shouldn't take too long, and then we'll install the OLE DB driver. The one we installed is the newest version that we downloaded in our prerequisite video. There we are. Now we're going to install SQL Server Management Studio. So go down here to your H drive under your share, SSMS setup, and we're going to change the location to the E drive and click Install. And I'll come back when that's ready. Okay, and SQL Server Management Studio is now set up complete. Click Close. We're going to also set up our SQL Server Reporting Services, which will be setting up a SQL Reporting Services role on our MCM server in a little bit. Next, we'll change this to the E drive as well. Click Install. And we'll come back when that's ready. But right after this, we're going to be installing we're going to be enabling our service principal. So because we're installing SQL on the same computer that will have our MCM on, right? It says MCM uses Kerberos authentication to securely communicate with SQL Server. Kerberos requires a service principal name, or SPN, to associate a service, which is SQL Server, with a specific account, which we created that service account there. Without an SPN, MCM might fall back to NTLM authentication, which is less secure and could cause authentication issues, okay? I just wanted to let you know why we do this, all right? So SQL Reporting Services done. We can close File Explorer. Let's open up our terminal from the taskbar, and we can copy from 180 up to 177, and this should set our service principal name. There we go. Everything looks good. Okay, press exit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to type click Start, type SQL Server 2022 Configuration Manager. We're going to pin that to start. And we're also going to pin SQL Server Management Studio to start. Okay, click the desktop. And now what we'll do is we'll open up SQL Server Management Studio. And we're going to set up remember, we had the minimum and maximum memory in our Excel spreadsheet. I've also created the database and log file locations with the recommended sizes from our SQL spreadsheet. So everything is filled in for you. If you go back to your spreadsheet and you've set it to a larger RAM size, more or less CPUs, or if you've added more clients that you're going to be managing than 5,000, you'll change these numbers, okay? So we're going to trust our server certificate, click Connect. First thing we're going to do is we're going to right-click at the top here, click Properties. We'll go to Memory, and we're going to set our minimum memory to 8192, which is 8 gigs. Our maximum is to the max memory minus 4 gigs. So we have 16, so 12288 or 12 times 1024. Okay, so we're good there. If you don't set the minimum and maximum, it'll try to use as much memory as it can. I think the maximum before I filled this in is something like 256 terabytes or something. It's very crazy. So click OK. Now we're going to click up here on New Query. Okay, we're going to copy from line 221 all the way up to 209. Okay, this is going to create our CM underscore PS1 or configuration manager and our primary site server database. Okay, we'll click execute, and what we're doing is we're waiting for this to say query executed successfully, and we'll come back when that's ready. It should take about 45 seconds. Okay. It was close, 42 seconds. So query executed successfully, commands completed successfully, and we're good there. Now, if we expand our databases, we'll see our CMPS1 here. We're going to right click on that, click properties, files, and the owner, you're going to change this to the system admin. So check names. Okay, good. We don't want to leave a username there. Okay. Now we're going to go to our options. And in our drop-down for recovery model, we're going to put simple. And because compatibility level, so I'm going to open this up and I'm going to show you this. So if you go all the way to the top here, you'll notice supported SQL versions for configuration manager. Okay. And of course, when we were down here, it says the recommended level is 150 for SQL Server 2022. Okay, so that means we're going to set it to 150, which is SQL Server 2019. Right now it's set to 160. So you click here, click SQL Server 2019. This is an important step for when we integrate drivers into our boot WIM, because if you don't set this compatibility level, you'll have an error. Okay, click OK. We're going to click close, no. And now we'll double click our PC. We're going to go to our E drive database. There we go. There are our 8 files. Okay, all set up. Then we'll go to our tempdb. There should be 4 files here. All good to go. And our logs. There we go. Okay, so you just verify those and we're good to go. Close File Explorer. Now we're going to go to Start and SQL Server 2022 Configuration Manager. We're going to go to SQL Server Network Configuration Protocols. And under TCP IP, where it says Listen to All, we're going to say No. Then we're going to go to IP addresses. Now, IP1 and IP2 are for the same network adapter. Okay, it's just IPv version 6 or IPv version 4. So under Enabled, we're going to say Yes and Yes for both of those. Okay. We'll click OK, click OK here. Then we'll go up to SQL Server Services. You're following along, we're right here. And you'll see our MS SQL running. Right click on that, click Restart since we made those changes. Give that a few moments to load up. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to exclude our SQL database, our tempdb SQL logs from Windows Defender. And that will speed things up for us when it's accessing our database. So we're excluding the E database, ftemp, glogs, and then any of the MDF, NDF log files, etc. for our database. Then we're going to fix our SQL services so that when the servicing pipe timeout comes, it will try to restart those at least 3 times when the pipe comes up. Okay, so close that, open up your terminal from the taskbar, copy from the end of 323 all the way up to 306, and paste that there. There we are. Everything is good. And that's it for SQL Server. And I'll see you in the next video.